This is about assessment of effective mentoring practices and practitioners in water supply. I did this study with Patrick John Ramos. And this study was part of the MDG Achievement Fund, financed by UN MDG Achievement Fund, which was implemented by the Philippine government and UN partners with the generous donation of the government of Spain. The study was, the objective is to document and assess the effectiveness of current mentoring and coaching practices and practitioners in the water supply sector based on adopted criteria, and to review and analyze mentoring processes and mechanisms. And of course, to recommend practices for possible rectification. Just to give you a what we're doing in the water supply sector, when well, you have the hard aspect, which is basically the construction of physical infrastructures, and the soft aspect where this study belongs is basically the establishment of incentive mechanisms and capacity building for or development to enhance the management and operation of water supplies service providers. And here we are on the mentoring and coaching. By the way, provision of water supplies is one of the indicators of MDG. And to continue that, mentoring and coaching here. So we have, the focus of the study is on the frameworks, arrangement of mentoring and coaching. Who are the practitioners here? What are the practices and activities? And of course, the assessment of effectiveness of based on criteria. And as we will discuss later, we have identified the various frameworks with the Godfather scheme, service agreements between or among water service providers, and twinning arrangements, and government agency initiatives. And of course, the study flow, just to give you a background, this, of course, you have a study of literature, the usual. You have meetings here with sector agencies. We develop assessment criteria and interview consultation with service providers consisting of water districts and smaller water service providers in barangays or kampongs in our area or barrios, and documentation, mentoring, coaching practices, assessment here of mentoring, coaching practices, preparations of findings. We conducted regional consultations to validate refined findings, and of course we presented and have a final assessment report. We defined what is mentoring and coaching. You can read this. I'll just pass through this quickly. And we, lo and behold, we found the internet. Development effectiveness review evaluation evidence by UNDP, which is we thought was a good criteria for you to be used in our study. Basically, it consists of this criteria. We have relevance, which then project performance, which consists of areas of efficiency, effectiveness, quality of project design, and the last is the project success, which is consisting of impact on target groups, impact on gender, sustainability, contribution to capacity of institution building. And on our own initiative, we have a 5 rating system areas, which we, from the 1 which is the most desirable, and 5 the least desirable, and in between is of course 3, which is neutral or partially relevant, and so on and so forth. And we also, of course, defined this various criterion with our own description based on that publication and tailored towards our own project. And the sum total of those, where we also devised our own description for them, as found here, from outstanding best to very poor for those of our practices. And for practitioners and framework, we group them to highly effective and successful to the ineffective and unsuccessful or the least desirable. And our findings are the following. The Godfather scheme, this was initiated by LUA, which is the Local Water Utilities Administration, as an informal system of coaching and mentoring less capable, young, and usually small water districts by competent and well-established water districts. Water districts are water distributive systems that are found in major cities and big towns. The scheme has widened to include other beneficiaries or other water service providers as local government units run the systems. These are found in small towns and, as I mentioned, barangays or kampongs, and water cooperatives and associations. The second one is the frameworks, the service agreements between among water service providers, which constitute a formal arrangement between two or more water service providers, where one shall assist and support the development and operation of water. This is a formal agreement. And the third one is a twinning arrangement. It's a partnership and matching of a stronger water utility, which is called an expert with a developing utility, to enable the latter to improve service coverage and delivery, financial sustainability, and other aspects of performance. And the fourth one, the last, is the agency initiative, usually done by the ILG or LUA, which involves the capacity building and institutional development programs implemented by various government agencies, particularly for provincial and municipal water systems. And here's the result of our assessment for coaching and mentoring frameworks. This is basically a comparison between the various frameworks from Godfather scheme, service agreements, and twinning arrangement, and agency initiative. It's good to note that Godfather scheme is an informal arrangement and does not involve any financial considerations. We have an example here in Tingira water districts and Alcala water work systems. And for service agreements, which has financial obligations of both parties and are all formal. We also have an example here. And twinning arrangement, usually at no cost implications for participants, but borne by the facilitator or sponsor. These examples of twinning arrangement between the Davao City Water Districts and Ranhill Utilities Bernard, I think of Malaysia, I believe. And then we have agency initiative, which usually no cost implications for beneficiaries, but borne by agencies. It's also formal. DILG has this program. And we have this assessment. It seems to be that Godfather scheme, running for about more than 20 years, is the most highly effective and successful. Of course, the thing is, it's informal but very successful. It's all voluntary. And the least successful are agency initiative. In between are service agreements and twinning arrangement. So why is Godfather scheme the most successful? Scheme works well as an informal and unstructured way to transfer skills, knowledge, technology, and strategy from efficient and competent water to small water service providers. It also makes opinions on the need to formalize and adopt heavy guidelines and procedure. We asked them, is there a need to formalize this? They said no, because it works. So why try to fix it? You know? So it makes sense. Due to its informal nature, its effectiveness depends largely on the good personal relationship between general managers and our boards and the mentors and mentee water service providers. So it's basically based on good relationships of people usually in the provinces. Some doubts on the sustainability of practice due to lack of explicit incentives for the mentor and water service providers to continue and drive the process. Assistance provided by Godfather systems to water agencies are limited to coaching and mentoring. For most part, assistance also comes in the form of loans for critical materials like pipe, service meters, and chlorine. So it's not only expertise, but as well as material ones. Assistance of technical personnel in the work such as pull out, repair, and installation of submersible pumps, which is very difficult, are also requested from and accommodated by Godfather water districts. Nearly all water districts recognize the pivotal role the national, regional, provincial associations play. So it's basically the associations, water districts have associations at the provincial level, and so it's national. And I think they all meet together here, including also invited less viable water service providers to share with them their experience as well as we also get into arrangement for assistance. Assessment of coaching mentoring practitioners. Water service providers fiscally competent and established water districts. Based on the feedbacks from recipients, water districts are generally effective and reliable and authoritative on requested subjects. This is also very interesting because you see that those who have been at the industry are also the best practitioners. The lack of technical, human, financial resources often preclude LGU run systems. So, LGU run systems, barangay water service associations are deemed to be less capable in terms of technical matters. So they rely on water districts to help them out when they have problems. On sector agencies like the ALG, MDFO, DPWS, and DAR, they're constrained by the lack of human and financial resources. This is understandable because water supply is not the core competencies, as you would see here. Private suppliers, these are suppliers of pipes, pumps, and all these things. They're private. Support is often limited to their clients. When you buy something from them, they will give you a assistance in terms of getting it to work as well as operation and maintenance. And the assessment would give water districts the most highly effective and successful, where water sector agencies and private entities as the only party effective and successful. Coaching and mentoring practices. We have lots of practices that we have documented. They range from outstanding, very good, good, and average. They're basically on engineering part, the technical, financial, then commercial, and institutional. So I want to put them here. What we did was to pick out only those we rated as outstanding and very good. So basically they're into a score 1 and 2 on the average. And we recommend them based on where it's most applicable to level 1, level 2, and level 3 systems. Level 1 is basically a point source system, pump, or a spring box. Level 2 is a pipe system but ends up in a faucet system shared by the community. And level 3 is where you have to pipe into a pipe and a faucet into your household. So we try to where it's most practices is most applicable. There was a request from DILG as an input to their own study that the practices that we have gathered together be put in to be synthesized in a system where they could use it as a part of their toolkit for training. And we did. We acquiesced to the request. We recommended techniques using best practices from post-lecture coaching and mentoring, from site visit by mentor coach to assist water service providers. We put them in a procedural arrangement. From visit by mentee coaches for coaching and mentoring, on-the-job training of mentee in the office of mentor coaches, as well as the formal agreement to provide technology and skills transfer. This is based on a demand basis by recipients. What kind of mentoring or coaching do they want based on their needs for assistance? And here's our recommendation, implementation recommendations based on the study. In order for small water service providers to take advantage of the camaraderie and fora regularly held by water districts and the resulting coaching and mentoring among members that follow, a confederation of water service providers should be established where the Philippine Association of Water Districts, that are big water systems, and National Water Association of smaller, NOWASA is an association of small water system, should be charter members, and other non-affiliated water service providers invited to join. So we recommended a big confederation of all water service providers where they could exchange mentoring and coaching practices and assistance as well. That the analysis portal be hosted by either LUA or National Water Resource Board to be established under the MDG project of DILG, containing the water sanitation toolkit, where they could find all the resources for training, and those who could provide the training as well. We also recommended a NEDA board resolution proposed to enjoin LUA and NGO-led water systems, barangay water system associations, cooperatives, and private institutions, institutionalize, strengthen, and expand the voluntary assistance practices under the so-called godfather system. We vacillated under forcing them to have a to provide services and assistance, but we think voluntary system seems to work better rather than forcing them to do so. And the funds for coaching and mentoring should be included in the annual budget of both the mentor and the mentees, based on their financial capability. And regional training centers of LUA and centers of learning, these are from universities and colleges, should be encouraged to transform themselves as water supply and sanitation repository of knowledge, where books and other learning materials may be accessed, like softwares for planning and design, and database of persons and water service providers and other entities having expertise related to water supply should also be made available. This is already being done by Siliman University, and I think San Carlos University, I think they already have this. We suggest that other regions should also do so, like Western Visayas, for example. That these findings and recommendations shall be incorporated in the DILG Water and Sanitation Toolkit, which they already did. We're happy about it, through a proposed new section in the toolkit containing coaching and mentoring frameworks, best practices and techniques. And of course, we have an execution plan with the cost here. This is circa 2010. And for further action, coordination, and deliberation among concerned agencies on the practicality of ratifying the NEDA board resolutions which we proposed, and conduct a further study or research on types of incentives as well as mechanisms that may be adopted to encourage mentor and coach water service providers to continue with their voluntary support and assistance to other experienced water service providers. And review and consideration of the proposed means to incorporate the study findings into the Water Sanitation Toolkit by DILG. And thank you very much for listening.